All right, Carlos Adames has just defended his WBC middleweight belt and showing once again why he is the best middleweighter in the world right now. He dominates and outclasses Austin Ammo Williams, schooling him over the course of 12 rounds. I mean, there's levels to boxing, and then you see what happened tonight, which was nothing short of a boxing education by the hands of Carlos Adames, and Austin Ammo Williams looked lost out on his feet for most of that fight. But before we dissect this fight, please, if you could all head down the bottom there, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and at the very end, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Carlos Adames has just put on an absolute clinic, schooling Austin Ammo Williams over 12 rounds, and it's not even close. It was a clinical deconstruction. It wasn't one punch that made that fight. That was a consistent 3 minutes over 12 rounds, constantly pestering and beating Austin Ammo Williams, deconstructing him and battering him over 12 rounds. And if you look at Carlos Adames, all right, it was a great start to the fight. Getting a knockdown in the second round, a double right hand. We know Austin Ammo Williams has no defense for a right hand. We knew that coming into the fight. Obviously, things have not changed. And Carlos Adames, we know how crafty he is, and he's able to land those shots at will. And if you look at what Austin Ammo Williams was supposed to do coming into this fight, if you were to say what's Austin Ammo Williams' best way at winning this fight, and it's saying you're slightly younger, you've got the power, you've got the muscle, you've got the athleticism, you've got to be aggressive, you've got to go in there, make this fight dirty, and you've got the power to land a shot that stops Carlos Adames. But it wasn't like that. It was Carlos Adames on the front foot, being the aggressor, being the physical fighter, and just picking apart Austin Ammo Williams. And whoever landed the bigger shots, it was Carlos Adames. He was landing the bigger shots, he was landing the better shots, and you know what? They were all crisp and right on the button. Whether it was an uppercut, whether it was a hook, whether it was just a straight right, they were all landing. But, you know, for all the good work that Carlos Adames did, it's all up here. Carlos Adames has got to be one of the smartest fighters in the world right now. When you think of these genius, intelligent boxers that we see over the past, you know, Alexander Usyk right now, Terence Crawford had it, Floyd Mayweather had it, Vasily Lomachenko, these type of fighters that they're thinking about what they're doing and what the opposition's doing before anybody's even done anything. And that's what Carlos Adames did today, because when he was attacking, he was able to pick him apart, go to the body, break him in half, make him smaller and smaller and shrink into a shell, and just pivot and move around him, pick him apart, land clean shots, everything leading off that left jab. That right hand was menacing all night, but the attack was really built off the back of his feints. The foot feints, the body feints, the hand feints, constantly making Austin Ammo Williams think over the course of that fight and constantly tiring him out. You know, if you think about Tony Bellew when he talks about his fight against Alexander Usyk, the one thing he always says is, in that fight, the hardest part of that fight was not the punches coming from Alexander Usyk. Obviously, they do a lot of damage, but it was the constant menacing of that jab, of those feints, making you have to think over the course of 12 rounds, and it just breaks you down over the course of the fight. And that's what we saw today, was Carlos Adames breaking him down over the course of the fights, because as much as he was jabbing and tapping and pestering him, none of those punches really held a lot of damage. It was the one or two select punches that he did each round that were doing the damage, and they were all built off putting Austin Ammo Williams in a false sense of hope. All right, he was dragging him in, he was pulling him in to throw power shots, and then he was countering, or he was on the attack, hunting him down, pestering, jabbing to the body, working to the head until that gap opened up, and then it was bang straight through the guard, bang straight through the body, make him shrink, push him back, and you saw Austin Ammo Williams at the end, mouth red, all energy exhausted, and he just couldn't hack it. I mean, he had about 20 or 30 seconds of good work at the start of each round for Austin Ammo Williams, but it was just a clinical breakdown from Carlos Adames, and every good work that Austin Ammo Williams did in attack, it all missed. Carlos Adames was reading the guy like an absolute book, stepping back, body and head movement was just perfect from Carlos Adames. And although Austin Ammo Williams did land a few good shots, all right, a lot of that probably a bit of complacency from Carlos Adames, most of it missed. You know, I'd love to see the punch stats of power shots connected to missing, because everything was just winged and misses, and Carlos Adames was able to pick him off straight off the back of that. And you know what? Carlos Adames beats him very, very well over the course of those 12 rounds. Official scorecards were 118 to 108, 117 to 109, times 2. Carlos Adames winning. I had it 118 to 108. You got to factor into that the knockdown in the second round and the point deduction in the 12th. There was a point deduction through low blows. There was one really earlier than the 112th round. But it was Carlos Adames that it wasn't even a fair fight. I mean, Carlos Adames was beating him over the course of 12 rounds. You see the scorecards, and his corner wasn't happy at all with Carlos Adames' tactics in that fight. They wanted him to stay on the outside and box and win it clinically that way. Carlos Adames saw an opportunity to really show just how good he was today, because he wasn't content with an outside boxing match beating him with a jab. He wanted to go in there and say, I am that guy. I am the better fighter. I want to show you that all that crap during the week you spoke, man, absolutely pissful. And that's what he did over the fight. And for Carlos Adames, I already said it once, he is the best middleweighter in the world right now. You've got him, you've got Erislandy Lara, and you've got Yanibek Alimkhanuly. We all know what's going on with Yanibek Alimkhanuly. He's serving a year ban by the WBO. The IBF have stripped him. I don't actually remember how long that ban is, but all sorts of drug cheating problems going on there with Yanibek Alimkhanuly. Without him, I think it's set that Carlos Adames is the best middleweighter. But guess what? There's only one way to find out. We have to see Adames take on Erislandy Lara now. We have to. Erislandy Lara is getting older and older and older. I don't know how many more fights he's got in him. He's 42, 43 years of age. It's now or never for that fight. So I'd love to see that happen. Other than that, the middleweight division is quite dead. But Carlos Adames beats everybody. And I was always back and forth. I always thought that Yanibek Alimkhanuly would beat Carlos Adames. But looking at this performance by Carlos Adames against Hamza Shiraz, he's 31 years of age. He just dominated Austin Ammo Williams. I think that fight is closer than what I initially thought. And I might even be backing Carlos Adames. If that fight ever happens between him and Yanibek, that Carlos Adames actually comes out victorious, because today, the guy is he's just too difficult to hit. You have to be such a good technical boxer to be able to hit Carlos Adames. And Austin Ammo Williams isn't that guy. Yanibek Alimkhanuly is a more technical boxer, and that's why the question's got to be asked, because I think a fight between those two, and I think a fight between Carlos Adames and Erislandy Lara, although it's probably boring, Erislandy Lara versus Carlos Adames, because they're very similar fighters, it is going to be such a good, high-level technical fight, and you can't really pick a winner early. You probably say Carlos Adames being 10 or so years younger is that. And you know what else? Talking about the age thing, in this fight, I don't know if you're listening to the commentary, but they were consistently saying Ammo Williams, the young buck, should show the energy, the power, and the aggression to get over Carlos Adames. When did we start saying a 28, 29-year-old Austin Ammo Williams, who's only 2 or 3 years younger than Carlos Adames, is a young buck? This guy's not a young buck. All right, there's no excuse of, he's young. He's not. He's a middle-aged fighter. He should be in the prime of his career. The fact is, he was outclassed, outgunned. Carlos Adames isn't an old fighter. He's 31 years of age. Yes, he's had that very long amateur career, which does put a few more, notches on the clock. But Carlos Adames, I mean, today, the aggression that he showed against a power puncher like Ammo Williams just showed how classy he is, because that's a danger going into the on the inside in the phone booth trading with Ammo Williams. If you watch that round 6, the start of round 6, those two were trading like no tomorrow. Ammo Williams and Carlos Adames both putting themselves in danger, but even in that interaction, we think that's where Ammo Williams will step up. That's where he'll land the better shots. It was Carlos Adames that outworked him, landed the bigger shots, gassed him out, and then for the next 2 minutes, it was just competent, composed dominance and aggression from Carlos Adames. So a great performance there today by Carlos Adames. I'm going to now go and watch Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Alim. I didn't get to watch it because they were both on at the same time. But I will watch that fight and make a video on it right now. But the rest of the results from the weekend, we had Mick Conlan losing to Kevin Walsh. Kevin Walsh winning a split decision. Mick Conlan retiring after that fight at 34 years of age. 20 victories, 10 knockouts, 4 losses, 3 of those coming by way of knockout. Disappointing night for Mick Conlan. A very, very competitive fight. And you know what? He's had a very good career at 34 years of age. He obviously knows that there's nothing left in the gas tank. Not the way you want to go out, but that's what happens. George Liddard goes 14-0, beating Tyler Denny by unanimous decision, 116 to 112 times 3, defending his British and Commonwealth titles and gaining the IBF Intercontinental one. Man, George Liddard at 23, 24 years of age? Am I getting that right? He's so good, man. He was so... That was a very, very competitive fight. I thought after the first 2 rounds it was going to be an easy night for Liddard, but Tyler Denny able to get on the inside. And I think he showed a few vulnerabilities. If you're taking on George Liddard, you know that if you get on the inside, it's going to be a much easier night, because Liddard on the outside is just too good, too quick, too technical. But you get on the inside, you make it aggressive, you make it a little bit chaotic, and he does lose his way a little bit. Terra Moana defeats Curtis Harper, round 1 KO. He now moves to 10-0, 10 knockouts, 8 in the first round, 2 in the second round. He's also fighting next month, so we'll keep an eye on him. He needs a step up, man. I like the knockouts, but you are 27, 28 years old. You do have that amateur pedigree. You're now 10-0. It's time that we start making bigger moves in this, and it's got to be Stevan Ivic, the Australian heavyweight champion. It's not, I don't think he's that great, but it is a step up from what he's been versing. Corey Marksman defeats Jacob Gomez via unanimous decision, 96, 94, 98, 92, 98, 92. Omari Jones, 2 fights in a row here that he's gone the distance. He defeats Christian Gomez, 80, 72. It was one-way traffic. Omari Jones goes to 6 wins, 4 knockouts, 0 losses. It was one-way traffic. He didn't drop around. He didn't look like dropping around. You just got to question, how can we get you finding these knockouts? Because these are the type of opponents, these are the type of performances that the top-level guys, they get a knockout. And these last two fights, I'm thinking, what are you doing wrong? What are you not doing in your game to not find that knockout? What can we improve on to find you those knockouts, get you these bigger wins? Don't go 8 rounds with these guys. That'd be my only criticism. But we know how good Omari Jones is at 23 years of age. He is the future of that division. He's just, I think there's some work to be done. There's a reason he's not getting knockouts. I don't know what that reason is. But whatever it is, he needs to fix that up, because you got to try and make these bigger statements. Carlos Adames, though, what a performance today. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Like I said, I'm going to go film Lester Martinez I'm going to go watch Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Alim, and then I'll be back to make a video on that later. See you guys later.